All right, what is up, everybody? We are here at Chino Hills State Park. It's been a minute since we've been here. Thought I'd bring you all along on this ride just to give you a sense of what the Chino Hills State Park looks like in the summer. If you've seen some of my other videos that I posted a few months back at Chino Hills State Park, you'll know that those videos were from the springtime, which is a completely different look, feel, vibe, ride when you're riding the state park during that time. And yeah, if you've seen my videos, you know that I've shared that there was a real sweet spot to coming to the Chino Hills State Park. Really, springtime is going to be the best time to come ride the Chino Hills State Park, not just because of like the trail conditions, but also because of the scenery. The Chino Hills State Park gets a lot of attention and popularity during the springtime months because of how green it is here and because of the super blooms that take place with the wildflowers throughout the park. Yeah, the state park sort of becomes influencer town during the months of like April into May. So anyway, yeah, thought I'd bring you all along on this ride with me, give you a sense of how different this park looks and what the experience is like riding during the summertime. Now, you probably can't see it from the GoPro footage, but I am pretty layered up right now, even though it's a warm summer day in the middle of July. I am wearing my mountain bike pants with high socks underneath those. I've even got on the full finger gloves today, and for good reason. As you'll see in the footage coming up, Chino Hills State Park is a completely different ride during the summer months. Really, you only have until early April to ride this place when it's at its prime for the year. And as I've mentioned in other videos, a lot of the single track trails or trail systems here do get overgrown with really tall weeds during the summer months, and I believe into fall. The state park doesn't really do any routine maintenance on any of the single track. I think there's a couple of mountain bike groups that come in and do trail work with permission from the state park, but otherwise the 91 plus miles of trails that you'll find here are not regularly maintained. And so yeah, it really does negatively impact your riding experience if you try riding here during the summer months. So all that being said, we're gonna do some cruising around some of the trails here that are still somewhat rideable. I'll see if I can even give you a glimpse into what some of the other single track lines look like here, just so if you do decide to come here during the summer months, you'll at least have an idea of what you're getting yourself into. As you'll see, the scenery here changes pretty drastically as you transition from the springtime months into summertime. This place gets really dry. You can probably tell from this video that there's a lot of dry brush all around me, and normally during the spring this would all be like a really lush, vibrant green, and it makes this place really pretty, and it makes for some pretty cool GoPro footage. Maybe I'll put a couple of clips here while I'm just yapping. But yeah, very drastic difference in terms of scenery. And another consideration and another reason that I'm wearing the pants and the long socks and trying to layer up is the wildlife starts to change a bit during the summer months. During the summertime, you'll have more frequent encounters with tarantulas, rattlesnakes, so I like to be prepared just in case anything pops out at me. All right, starting our initial climb up the Bane Ridge trail. Yeah, you can see lots of dry brush on both sides of me. And what this park has that really sucks are these like really thorny flower slash weeds that pop up along the trail. Maybe I'll find a batch of them to show you. They are freaking horrible. If you run into them, the thorns are very sharp and they leave you with a little bit of an itch afterwards for some time. So who knows if they're poisonous, but they have these little wildflowers that are just a pain in the butt. You really want to avoid them at all costs. And yeah, especially when you're on some of the single track that's being overgrown, you'll still run into those flowers. So you just have to be careful about where you're riding, and especially during the summer months, I would highly recommend layering up. Throwing on some pants, long socks, full finger gloves. If you want to make this ride as enjoyable as possible, layer up. Not a bad idea. All right, here is a good point in which I can show you those flowers I was talking about. I don't know if you can see these. See that bad boy? This flower is surrounded by thorns. And if I zoom out, you can see that there's hundreds, thousands of them just in this one little section. And you'll run into this on both sides of the trail, even on some of the single tracks. So yeah, something you'll see during the summertime that you will not run into during the spring months. All right, coming up on our first little initial descent. See what we run into. We're gonna transition into some single track right now, and we'll see what the maintenance looks like. Ugh. Yeah, already running into some of that brush hitting the knuckles. I'm glad I have these gloves on. All right, got a steeper descent coming up right here. Let's get it. Yeah, just getting slapped across the face with all that dry brush feels great. No sarcasm at all. And so as you can see, even on this main trail, which is the one that most people will hike or ride as they enter the state park, not very well maintained. I'm getting smacked left and right by this brush right here. And this is relatively short brush compared to some of the stuff you'll encounter deeper into the park. I guess one of the benefits to riding during the summertime is that there are far less hikers on this trail when compared to the spring months. I mentioned earlier, but if you come here during the springtime when it's wildflower season, there will be hundreds of people here, sort of congesting these trails, and it's really hard to get a ride in without asking people to move or running into people. So I guess that's a benefit. Another little drop here. Woo! Yeah. All right. Yeah, one of the other things that I'm noticing about riding these trails in the summertime is that the trails themselves are a bit more sandy, so probably more likely to slip. So something to consider if you're heading out this way. This is my favorite little part of this specific trail. You can see some of the charred brush to the left. There was a fire over here a few weeks back. Woo. A little bit of exposure off to the right. Yeah, you can see more of this charred brush. Yeah, a few weeks back there was a wildfire here. Not sure how it started. It's one of the dangers of the state park is that because the brush stays dry and tall, it's a pretty significant fire hazard. And actually just yesterday, or 2 days ago, there was another fire that broke out more towards the perimeter of the park. So I don't know, if you're listening, Chino Hills State Park, and if you have the resources, probably in everyone's best interest to maintain these the best that you possibly can. Granted, it's a massive park, so I also get it. Probably not too realistic. Hiker up here. Good to know I'm not totally alone out in the middle of this park. How's it going? Thank you. starting to enjoy some of this rocky stuff a bit more. Used to bug me, but I don't know, something enjoyable about it now that I've had this bike for a minute. Woo! Ah. 30.9 miles per hour on that last little part. I have this little speedometer display that's integrated into the frame of the bike that I never look at, I'm realizing. But yeah, 30 miles per hour on that last little downhill. Pretty fun. All right, I wanted to head down here to another one of the single track trailheads and show you why the vast majority of this park right now is not rideable. Remember those thorny flowers I was telling you about earlier? Well, this is what you have to look forward to if you decide to ride the bulk of the single track trails here. Definitely not rideable. I don't know why anybody would want to even try to ride this. You're just going to get all cut up and bloody. And these weeds, this brush, just for reference, it's about, gosh, I'm a little over 6 foot tall, and some of this looks taller than me, so probably 6.5 to 7 feet tall is a lot of this brush that you're going to encounter as you head deeper into the state park and as you get into some of the other single track trail systems that this park offers. So yeah, I'm obviously not going to try that, and you can see why. And I would highly advise folks not to try to venture into the deeper parts of the state park for this reason. Not only can you get cut up on some of the brush that you're going to run into, but your visibility is also impaired. And if you're riding some of the single track trails here for the first time, you can get easily thrown off track from where the trail actually is, especially some of the more narrow single track. There have been folks who have gotten pretty severely injured riding this state park during the summer and fall months because of the brush and how tall it is. If you start picking up speed on a downhill and you lose sight of the track, you can veer off into some of the exposure, have a pretty steep fall. And I think even a couple years back, there was an individual who passed away because of that exact reason. He came exploring in the state park. I don't think he knew exactly, or he wasn't too familiar with some of the trail systems inside the park. He got thrown off by some of the big coverage, the tall coverage, and unfortunately they found him deceased. So yeah, I mean, all that to say, if you're gonna come here and ride during the summer or fall months, stick to the Bane Ridge trail, which is a bit more populated and seems to be a little less impacted by the brush than some of the other trailheads you'll find deeper into the park. Or there are the fire roads that you can find within the state park. I think there's Lower and Upper Telegraph Road fire roads that you can take from the Chino Hills side all the way down to the Brea entrance where Carbon Canyon is. That stuff's pretty safe and it's a wider trail, so you don't have to worry too much about the brush there. But yeah, when it comes to the actual single track systems that most bikers like to ride here, unless you can confirm that they've been maintained either by the park or by some of the trail maintenance crews that people just volunteer their time to take part in, just, I don't know, be careful. Try to stay out of the deeper parts of the park, especially if you're not familiar with the trails. Yeah. And on that note, I think I'm gonna wrap up this ride, just head back to the car. Really, that's the only trail, that Bane Ridge trail is the only one that I feel comfortable riding around this time of year. All the others I already know are gonna be overgrown. So yeah, I mean, if you wanna get a quick ride in, Bane Ridge, it's pretty safe. You can see that there were some parts where I was running into the brush, so wear your full finger gloves, wear the pants, wear the high socks. Make sure to check yourself for ticks when you get back to the car. Pretty sure those are a thing here. And yeah, that'll be this ride for the day. And because this was so short, I'm probably gonna head to the Fullerton Loop. That's my trail that can never go wrong. So thanks for riding along. Hopefully see you guys on the trail sometime soon. Take it easy.